a burning ship, lifeboats lost to the waves, and a crew fighting to survive against impossible odds. The story of the Fiery Star is one of courage, tragedy, and unanswered questions. In April 1865, the Fiery Star, a proud full-rigged clipper ship of the Black Ball Line that once sailed under the name of the Comet after her launch in 1851, departed Brisbane with high hopes. The ship carried 63 passengers, a crew of 42, and a valuable cargo of wool, hides, and tallow, destined for the markets of London. The voyage began without incident, and the Fiery Star glided through calm seas, her sails full and her future seemingly bright. She had always been a sturdy, reliable ship ever since she slid down the ways at the renowned shipbuilder of William H. Webb in New York. This final voyage marked the end of her storied career, celebrated for her speed and record-breaking passages. Beneath the surface of this initially serene voyage lay a hidden danger. The tightly packed wool in the hold, a material prone to spontaneous combustion under the right conditions, may have been smoldering for days before the sailors noticed the acrid smell of smoke. On April 19th, when the ship was some 400 miles northwest of the Chatham Islands. By the time the fire was discovered, it had already taken hold, threatening not just the cargo, but the lives of everyone aboard. Captain W. Hunter Ewell faced an impossible choice. With flames spreading rapidly and the arsenic-laced smoke driving passengers from their quarters, he ordered the evacuation of the ship. The Fiery Star's 4 lifeboats were launched into what was now a churning sea, carrying 80 desperate souls, including the captain, into the unknown. Yet 17 courageous individuals chose to stay behind, gambling their lives on the slim hope of saving the ship, or surviving long enough to be rescued. The fire aboard the Fiery Star was no conventional blaze. Fueled by the highly combustible cargo of wool and tallow, the flames smoldered deep within the ship's hold. Fed by unseen currents of oxygen through cracks and gaps in the structure, the seafarers' first instinct was to contain the conflagration by sealing the hatches, hoping to starve it of air. But the heat continued to rise, and the smoke, tainted with arsenic fumes from the cargo, became unbearable. As the fire intensified, the ragtag crew who remained on board knew they faced a daunting task. Chief Officer William Sargent took command, rallying the remaining sailors and lone passenger, John Ormond. His words, though simple, carried the weight of determination. "Well, lads, I'll stick by you if you'll stick by the ship." The ocean itself seemed to conspire against them. The waves were high and the winds fierce, sending spray over the deck that mixed with ash and soot. Supplies dwindled quickly. The survivors relied on a diet of rations and caged chickens for food, dismantling parts of the ship, including pigsties, to fuel the pumps. Even the pigs, once free to roam in the chaos, had to be sacrificed as the mariners fought to keep the fire from consuming the ship entirely. The battle against the blaze became a test of human endurance. For nearly 3 weeks, the remaining crew pumped seawater onto the fire in a desperate effort to keep it at bay. The heat was so intense that parts of the ship's structure began to weaken. It was later recounted how the foremast was burnt nearly through, leaving it perilously close to collapse. The hold, once packed with valuable cargo, had become a fiery furnace, consuming everything in its path. Each day brought new challenges. Exhaustion was a constant enemy. The shipmates took turns working the pumps, often collapsing from fatigue only to be roused to take another shift. The deck was a treacherous landscape of smoldering timbers and smoke, and the constant specter of death loomed over them like a shadow. Despite the stakes they drew upon their spirit, fighting for a chance to see their families again and to tell the story of their incredible ordeal. However, as the days stretched into weeks, those left behind aboard the Fiery Star began to lose hope. They constructed a makeshift raft, knowing it was a flimsy last resort. Their desperation was tested to the limit, but in the end, common sense prevailed. Refusing to take a chance on the doomed construct, they buried any plan to abandon the ship, clinging to the hope that salvation might still come. Finally, on May 11th, a miracle appeared on the horizon. The bark Dauntless, under the command of Captain Moore, came to the rescue of the Fiery Star's distressed band of survivors. When Moore boarded the smoldering ship the next day, he found a crew on the brink of collapse, their faces blackened with soot, and their bodies weakened by weeks of toil, yet their spirits remained unbroken. The survivors transferred to the Dauntless, their ordeal finally at an end. They watched as the fiery star, their flaming nemesis, slipped beneath the waves later that night. The ship was no more, but her story and the courage of those who fought to the bitter end lived on. However, casting a grim pall over this triumph of hardy determination was the fate of the 80 castaways, including women and children, who were never seen again. Questions lingered on the lips of their loved ones and the public at large. Did they succumb to the harsh sea, their boats capsized by towering waves? Did starvation and exposure claim their lives as they drifted further from hope? Or did the strong currents carry them to a remote part of the Pacific, where their stories remain untold? Let us engage in reasoned speculation based on accounts of others in seafaring history who have found themselves adrift on the seven seas with only a wooden lifeboat standing between them and kingdom come. Perhaps this is how this might have played out for those poor, unfortunate souls. As the lifeboats pulled away from the fiery star, abandoning their plan to stay alongside the vessel, their desperate mission to reach the Chatham Islands began. But the turbulent waters were unforgiving. Under the cover of darkness and amidst howling winds, the four boats became separated, each facing its own grim fate. The lifeboat led by second mate Addie was overloaded from the start. As dawn broke, towering waves crashed over its sides, forcing the passengers to bail frantically. Exhaustion set in, and with each swell, the boat's weakened stern post gave way. The lifeboat capsized in the chaos, spilling its passengers into the cold, unforgiving sea. No one survived. As for the second lifeboat, the Jolly Boat, also overcrowded, it managed to stay afloat longer. Its passengers rationed what little food and water they had, but as days stretched into weeks, hope dwindled. Exposure to the relentless sun and saltwater sores claimed lives one by one. By the time the boat drifted into a calm patch of sea, only a handful remained, too weak to signal any passing ships. It was likely claimed by the currents, lost forever. Then there was the third lifeboat, known as the Waste Boat. Hastily patched with canvas to stem the leaks, it faced a slow and agonizing demise. Each wave tested its makeshift repairs until the boat filled with water faster than it could be bailed. Those aboard clung to the wreckage, but as night fell, the sea swallowed both the boat and its passengers. Only the silent ripples bore witness to their fate. The fourth and final lifeboat, under the command of Captain Yule himself, may have met a different end. Steering into open waters, Yule and his crew hoped to intercept a passing ship. For days, they fought against the elements, but their provisions ran out. Perhaps they drifted far from known shipping lanes, their hopes fading with the horizon. Some speculate they reached a remote, uninhabited island, but with no trace ever found, their fate remains a haunting mystery with no answers. And so, the deep kept its secrets, leaving behind only echoes of these desperate escapes that ended with all being claimed by the eternal sea.
As for the fiery star, the ship is now just a fiery echo from the past that still has the power to captivate us with her story to this very day. Truly, the clipper ship's fate is a cautionary tale about the perils of oceanic travel in the 19th century. It burned for nearly 3 weeks, a testament to the resilience of human spirit possessed by those who stayed behind, and the mysteries of the deep surrounding 80 souls who vanished into oblivion, and are bonded by the same haunting epitaph for all eternity. The sea is my grave is the sea. We welcome any comments below, particularly on what you may think happened to the 4 lifeboats that vanished in the night. If you are captivated by tales of maritime bravery, mystery, and tragedy, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe for additional gripping stories of shipwrecks and sea disasters. And as always, we invite you to enjoy more of our maritime content available here on Shipwreck Sirens Sea Stories.